All right, today we're jumping into something pretty interesting. It's a church that's kind of rethinking how community works. They're asking this big question. What if church wasn't just about a weekly meeting, but a whole monthly rhythm? So using their own stuff, we're going to break down an organization called Mountain Wells Church and see what their unique answer looks like.
So the first thing you'll find on their website is this quote right here. And it's a really powerful way to kick things off, you know? It's way more than just a nice verse. Right off the bat, it sets the whole tone for their community. It's all about this idea of being surrounded, feeling protected, and being grounded in something, well, bigger than just yourself. Okay, section 1, an adventure of faith. This is all about who they are. And that idea of being grounded, well, it leads right into their whole philosophy, which they call an adventure of faith. And you see this phrase everywhere in their stuff. It's a huge clue, right? They're basically saying that faith isn't some boring duty you just show up for. No, it's an active, dynamic exploration.
So if it's an adventure, where are they headed? Well, it all boils down to this right here. Super simple, but really powerful. Love God, love people. That's it. This is basically the compass for everything else they're about to do.
So how do you actually do that? Well, they've built their whole approach on these 4 core pillars. First up is fellowship, and for them, that means faith and friendships are totally linked. You can't have one without the other. Then there's diversity, and they're really clear that this is about intentionally bringing people together from all walks of life. The third one is service, this idea that helping people in need is actually a form of worship. And look at that, there's that word again, adventure. What I find really cool is how balanced this all is. It's not just about what you believe, but it's about your relationships, what you do, and how you explore it all.
All right, so you've got these cool pillars, but how does that actually play out day to day or month to month? This brings us to section 2, the monthly rhythm, which is all about what makes them different. And honestly, this is probably their most unique feature. It's their big idea for how to do church in a totally new way.
I love that they just asked the question straight up. So let's answer it. What really makes them different from what you might think of as a typical church?
And there it is. That's the core idea right there. They just say it plain as day. We don't just meet in a church on a Sunday. Honestly, that one sentence, it's the key to their entire structure, their whole approach to what it means to be a community.
And this is how they pull it off. They run on this repeating 4-week cycle every month. So weeks 1 and 3 are pretty much what you'd expect, right? A Sunday service with worship, a message, the whole thing. But then week 2 is totally different. That's for connect groups, which are smaller get-togethers for real discussion. And week 4, that's a social gathering. It's just about building friendships and having fun. You can see it's a very intentional rhythm, trying to perfectly balance that spiritual growth with real, genuine human connection.
Okay, but you know what I was wondering? What happens when you get one of those weird months with a 5th Sunday? Well, they've got a plan for that too. They call it This is for Everyone. Think of it like a big community meeting, a time for everyone to get together, talk, and pray about what's next. It's a pretty fascinating way to make sure everyone feels like they have a stake in where the whole thing is going.
So that's the theory, but what does this actually look like in practice? Let's move on to section 3, a look inside. We're going to see how it works in a real, actual month.
Okay, so check this out. Here's their schedule for February, and you can see that 4-week pattern playing out perfectly. The first of the month is a Sunday service. A week later, on the 8th, it's connect groups. Then back to a Sunday service on the 15th, and they wrap up the cycle on the 22nd with a social gathering. What's kind of neat is that the time is always the same, 10:30 a.m. every week, but what you're actually doing that week is completely different.
All right, so if you're listening to all this and thinking, that sounds interesting, the next logical question is, how do you actually get involved? That brings us to our last section, joining the adventure, which lays out exactly how to do that.
And they have a few different levels, which is smart. If you're just curious and kind of want to check things out from a distance, there are a bunch of really easy, low-pressure ways to connect. You can sign up to stay in the loop, ask for prayer, follow a daily devotion, or even just watch some of their past messages. It's all about making it super accessible for anyone who's just, well, interested.
Now, for people who decide they want to go a little deeper, the next steps are a lot more defined. This is where you see things like making the decision to follow Jesus, getting baptized, or actually getting involved by serving in the community. And of course, giving. These are the clearly marked paths for someone who's ready for a higher level of commitment.
And finally, here's the practical nuts and bolts info if you wanted to take any of those steps. Online, you can shoot them an email or find them on Instagram. Their handle is @MountainWellsChurch. And if you're looking for their physical location, they meet at 89 Rose Street in Essendon, which is in Victoria, Australia.
So when you put this all together, the adventure philosophy, that really unique monthly rhythm, and all the clear ways to get involved, it feels like it's all trying to answer a much, much bigger question. And it's a really good one to leave you with. What does it actually mean to build a community that doesn't just exist inside four walls, but one that really thrives outside of them too?